Okay, we go to item 6. Item 6 calls for the review construction bidding processes and procedures and considerations of potential changes to construction bidding processes and procedures, including documents used for construction bidding. And Ms. Elstad, we don't have to comply. We're a water district, same as Moapa and other Virgin Valley water districts.
SNWA.
Pardon?
SNWA.
S&WA. That's just for those guys over across town. So we thank you for your interest, and we are going to change our bidding process, right?
Staff's been working on this, specifically kind of put a template forward that we can have a checklist to follow through on making sure each item, even in the past, a lot of these things have actually been prior to done in all our bid projects. It's just we didn't have a checklist to go down to check off as we went. One item that came up was subcontractors list, and that's a newer item in NRS statutes that we're putting into our bid documents in the future that will help clarify and fix any issues that have come in the past, and going forward we'll fix that. The city's been very helpful in providing some of their templates that they use, and we've tailored that or adapted it to the district's needs, and that's some of the documents that we've provided to as backup material. Some of this we've looked at a little more in depth with this specific template that's been provided, and discussed the, let me bring it up here, the RFQ for qualifications for engineer. That's something I think we might discuss more in depth. Want me to do a little of that, Kevin? Or you got some insight that you...
Yeah, in City of Mesquite's process for engineering services, they specifically have some guidelines there. What I'd like to do is modify that process so that we develop, send out a statement of qualifications for engineers for certain engineering services, and develop a pool of specialists in those areas that we can go to. If we need geotechnical, if we need survey, if we need site design, if we need treatment, whatever those expertises we need, and develop a pool of engineers to go to relative to those specific services in the future. That's done quite frequently in other places, and it opens the opportunity for other engineering firms to participate and be part of our engineering pool and our services. So it's something that we're going to take a look at in the next. After we get this piece on the construction bidding side done, we'll start taking a look at professional services next. So,
Is there any public comment on this item?
Why would you not want to do this?
Pardon?
Why would you not want to do this?
Oh, it's kind of a long, lengthy.
Can I address that, Ted?
Yes, sure, go ahead.
Yeah, I had to smile when Ted mentioned what he mentioned, and so that the rest of the public is kind of given some background on this. Barb came in a couple of meetings ago and said that there were some concerns about the bidding process that had been employed in the past on awarding contracts from the water district. Ted's response is in reference to NRS 338, which is the Public Works statute, concerning how these are public funds. When these funds are going to be used to fund a public project, then there's a specific process that should be followed so that this project is awarded to the, generally speaking, the best bid or the lowest responsive bidder, so that the district gets the best deal and everything's out in the open and transparent. There is a provision in NRS 338, in fact it's twice in here, that says that this section, NRS 338, doesn't apply to Virgin Valley Water District, Moapa Valley Water District, and SNWA. Having said that, my feeling is, and I believe the board's, this represents the feeling of the board. The board absolutely wants to comply with it, even though that technically under that provision of the statute, this may not apply to, well, in fact, it says on its face, it doesn't apply to the district. We have in the past complied with it. And there may have been issues in the past, small issues here and there that weren't totally followed. I'm not totally familiar with all of those. But generally the district has complied with it nonetheless. And going forward, my understanding is the district is going to continue to do everything it needs to comply with the statute. And so all of the things that Kevin and Aaron talked about concerning the documents provided by the city is to go down that road of, okay, is there a better way to do this? Can we have a more streamlined process, making sure we comply with everything? And that's the purpose of these documents. The only modification to that would be concerning awarding a contract relative to professional services for engineering, and in those cases, our needs might be somewhat different than the city's, and so how we might award a contract for professional services might differ somewhat from the way the city does it. But nevertheless, I think the board's committed to even in that situation, develop a pool, some fair process so that it gets out to all the potential engineers and they can all bid, and the district gets the best deal possible, which in turn is the best for the public.
Correct.
May I get some further clarification on that?
Yes.
So as it stands right now,
We need your name and
oh, the
address.
name is Rudy Mortel. I'm a resident of Mesquite, interested very much in our water rates and how our public money is being spent. So the question is, again, in regard to awards and non-bid awards, okay, is the board currently in a position, or does the board currently have the authority to make any awards it so chooses? Or is that something we're trying to, I guess, mitigate with this bidding process?
As I said, the board in the past, the district in the past has complied generally with NRS 338. Aaron told me about one incident where there was a minor issue potentially with something, but I think that precipitated, can this be done even better so that we make sure that we absolutely comply with every bid that goes out. So the intention is to absolutely comply with NRS 338, and historically we've done the best we can to comply with it, and substantially we have.
So any bids or any proposals that are being made, okay, are made by management to the board for their approval?
The way it works is if it's broken down into amounts. If it's $0 to $25,000, then the district has to go out and get one bid. If it's $25,000 to $100,000, we have to go out and we have to get 3 bids. We have to advertise, have at least 3 bids come in. If it's over $100,000, then it's a graduated, logically, just the more money that's going to be spent, the more intensive the process, the additional advertising has to be done in the newspapers so that as many contractors as possible can make the bid. When that all comes in, then yes, based on the criteria that is put together, and that's much of what's contained in the materials that were submitted with the agenda, is how's this going to work and what are the materials that we're going to use. I think that's a big part of the process, to make sure that things are done the same way consistently every time with the statute. This is what we're going to follow. This is going to have to be modified slightly from time to time depending on the nature of the project, but that's the way the bids are awarded. They're open together, it's transparent, everybody knows what the bids are, and then the board ultimately, unless it's within the realm of the general manager's discretion, which is $5,000.
$25,000 if it's budgeted for.
Yeah, well, and that's another issue we'll have to talk about because there's differing amounts in different documents. But the board for any project over $25,000 is going to make the award based on the bids that come in.
Yeah, and in the past, again, we did have bid openings. It's public bids and things of that nature. So make that clear that in past bid projects, it's maybe slight little areas that could be improved, but things were being followed.
Okay, is there any other comments? Okay, is there any board comments?
Comments in regard to this subject, or?
Yeah, this subject.
Okay.
I just had a question on even up to 10,000. If it's for materials and stuff, you guys usually get 2 or 3 bids on that. So I mean, it's not like we're not
correct, by statutes, we're not required, but we go above
Still,
and
you do
beyond
it right.
in doing that.
Before the board makes a motion on this, in all fairness to Bo, he was out of the office all last week when we put this on the agenda, and he only had, I think this morning, to take a look at the actual documents. He did a quick review of them and found a couple of minor errors, that some statutory sites in the documents, and so if you do make a motion, I'd recommend that it includes that we adopt it with the suggested corrections that Bo has found in the documents.
Or we can wait until it's
Or you can table
final.
it and wait till it's finalized, yeah.
Back.
Yep.
Okay,
That's what I'd be inclined to do, is wait until it's finalized.
okay.
Then I'll make a motion that we have this document go to Bo to be reviewed and brought back to our next meeting with any changes to, with working with staff to clear that up so that we can make it work.
And Katie, on your motion, do you want to include something with respect to, if we are adopting the city's documents entirely, they do have that more complex process in place for awarding contracts for professional services. We talked about, and I think staff's.
Yeah, I think make staff recommendation there, because I think we want to not be so stringent on that because of the difference in the makeup of what we do.
Okay, I have a motion, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second, call for the vote, all of those raise their right hand. And Rich? what do
How
you-
about I?
Okay, motion carried.